What's up, guys? Chris Morgan, FCA at the University of Louisville. Welcome to our weekly podcast, In the Huddle, where we ask current and former athletes and coaches to come into this space, into this huddle, and tell us their stories, what God has done, what he's doing, and what he will continue to do. Excited about today. Have Mark Redman, tight end for our football team here at the University of Louisville. Mark, thanks for coming on our show, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, Newport City, California. Tell us. The good thing about the transfer portal is you get new guys in. The negative thing about the transfer portal is once they get here, they start playing, and you don't know a whole lot about some of these guys. You don't get a chance to spend a whole lot of time. And you're one of those guys I wish we had about 6 more years with. So tell us about growing up. What was it like growing up in the Redman household?
Yeah, so I was originally born in Detroit, Michigan. Family lived there for about 10 years. Moved out to California in 2008 and pretty much grew up there. Had family in the Midwest in Ohio, so it's nice to be close to them now. But, typical day in the summer or whatever was going to the beach. It's 15 minutes away and loving the nice 85-degree weather and just jumping in the ocean or playing at the Greenbelt that's right up from our street and just playing with the neighborhood friends and just hanging out. I mean, it was a easy, nice lifestyle growing up, so I'm really blessed.
So when people say, man, they're going to the beach for spring break or they're going to the beach for whatever, you're like, it's like, okay, big deal. Like what? Going to the beach for you is a lot different than going to the beach for somebody else. Maybe. What you go to the beach? Are you surfing? Or are you just throwing on the ball? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not the best surfer from being out there, but the thing I really love doing, everyone hunts out here, but out there there's not much hunting to do. But you can go spearfishing and diving. So some of my buddies and myself have gone spearfishing, offshore, or just what you call shore diving is just right off the shore. So some of my buddies and I will go lobster diving at night, which people will say we're crazy for, but it's really fun. I've been out to Catalina Island and camped out there with some of my buddies, and it's really fun. I love the ocean.
Wow, that's a great area, man. And great weather all the time. So sports, growing up with sports, obviously you play football now, but growing up, what was sports like in your home? What sports did you play? Which ones did you like? I know you're good at football, but like what sports did you kind of gravitate towards?
Pretty much everything. I mean, that was the cool thing about our family is everyone tried everything, and from swimming to football to soccer to baseball, lacrosse, water polo. I mean, pretty much any of the sport. Basketball. In high school, was playing water polo during middle school time area, and I kind of just fell out of love with it. And then I ended up playing football and basketball for a little bit in high school, and then just fell in love with football and fell in love with the game, and it's taken me really far, and I'm really thankful and appreciated that. But it was pretty much everything in the mix at the start.
Now, big family, small family. Tell me, your siblings.
Pretty big family. So I'm the youngest of 4. Mom, dad, and then oldest brother Ian is back in California. Colin's in Arizona. He's married, and then my not younger sister, my sister Abby, she's out in Chicago. Okay. So youngest of 4.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
So at what part did you realize, okay, football, this is gonna be a thing. I can really make this into something. What'd that look like?
I'd say probably around maybe sophomore, junior year. It was funny. There was a short, quick story, but between water polo and football, both the water polo and football coaches were also teachers at my school. And I don't mean to brag, but they had this conversation. They were like, no, like Mark can go play water polo in college. He'll be good. And the other one was like, no, he'll play football. And I ended up playing football in high school. And the football coach, after I got my first official Division I offer, was like, hey, like I told you, he's going to be a good football player and he'll be able to get his college paid for. So, I mean, that's kind of funny. But, I mean, I just gravitated toward that. Both my brothers played in high school, and I just loved it. So it was really fun.
Water polo, I mean, is that they have college sports for that?
It's a big thing out in California, yeah.
So tell me one question about water polo. Okay, so your feet can never touch the bottom.
Correct. It's also a deep pool, so you can't really touch
I got you. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. But you can never go down. Like, you're never really underwater unless you're swimming to...
Not really, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a crazy sport.
Man, okay. All right, well, cool. All right, so you decided you wanted to go. Tell us about recruiting, how that all worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I was very blessed, and a couple of years before, we had a couple of kids play Division I, so Our school was never very known for football, and then it slowly got progressively better and better. And myself and two others were some, I'd say, big name prospects coming out of high school. So me and my quarterback actually at the time both went to University of Washington straight out of high school, and at the time I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was the first in my family, and it was kind of a weird process. And I think growing up in the household I did with my parents, they raised me to be humble and kind. And there's actually a Tim McGraw song, "Humble and Kind." My mom loves that. But I think just that whole process, and then going to Washington, and then did 2 years there, went to San Diego State, did 2 years there, and that's really where I found my faith. And then finally ended up here, and just it's amazing how God's journey can take you across and just use you.
That's good. Well, you mentioned your faith. Let's skip to San Diego State. Where you obviously you're gifted at a sport, and you're continuing. People want you. You get a scholarship. You go to University of Washington, transfer to San Diego State. So you're there. You're making an impact, but you want to use your platform of athletics to talk about having a relationship with Christ. How did that go about?
Yeah, and I'll even take a step back. So I think it really started at University of Washington. I played there with a tight end named candid, who's in the league now, and he really just kickstarted me to really get back into my faith, as well as one of my teammates there, Cooper McDonald, who transferred with me to San Diego State as well, and that'll play into the story as well. But Cade was another tight end. He was 3 or 4 years older than me, and just the most humble, down-to-earth guy. I say, besides my mom, he's the nicest person I've ever met on this earth. And I just really appreciate what he did and inviting me to player-led studies or whatever it was. And then fast forward to San Diego State, it was funny because me and my roommate at the time, Cooper, we both transferred to San Diego State, and just kind of found a way to get plugged in with the community there. And ever since then, it just took off, and from Bible studies to going to church every Sunday. Before that, I had never been to church by myself. And I remember one weekend when I was at San Diego State, I was like, "Hey, Cooper, you gonna go to church this morning?" He was like, "Nah, I think I'm gonna sleep in." I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm going by myself." And it was a little bit of a scary moment. That was probably about 2.5 years ago, but ever since then, I just love it, and it just gives me a purpose in life.
So you come to the University of Louisville, obviously transfer there or here, and again you make an impact. You're one of those guys, and I don't mind to say it. I've known you long enough now that I've just watched you, that you have a professional persona about you. You're just a pro at what you do. You're not a big talker. You're not going to be the rah-rah guy. That doesn't mean that you don't have something great to say, because it's actually you have a lot to say. But you're not the rah-rah holler guy. But you're a carry the lunch pail and go to work kind of guy. Where'd you get that from?
I think I kind of mentioned it earlier, just my family and how I was raised. I mean, youngest of four with 2 older brothers, got beat up a lot, and just kind of know how to take what you're given. And I think my parents did a darn good job raising me well, and just raising me with just to be humble and just to treat others how you want to be treated. And I think that really just played into it. And I mean, just put your head down and go to work. I mean, you don't need to be the guy that sometimes actions speak louder than words. And I really truly believe that. In every program I've been a part of, sometimes you need to speak up. Sometimes you need to just put your head down and grind. And I believe that to be true. And I think it speaks a lot here. Yeah.
So coming to University of Louisville, why'd you choose the University of Louisville? You could have went a lot of different places.
Yeah, I think to be in all honesty, I think the coaching staff here in the previous years, hasn't been all amazing and everything. And I really just believe in what Coach Brown has done here, and Coach Wallace, coming out of high school, he recruited me for a little bit, and I just really appreciated what they did. And they've shown the statistics of what they've done in the past with the tight end room. And it was kind of fun. I knew it'd be close to Ohio. Like I said, I think I know I have extended family in Ohio. So I've seen some aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff, and they've been able to come down for games. So it's pretty cool that far away from California, but still have some close family. And then my wife has some family in Minnesota. She was able to go up there, and it's not a far flight too as well. But all in all, I love it here, and I love the team, and I love the coaches. So it's an amazing gig.
I was gonna mention your wife in a little bit, but you beat me to it, which is really smart. That's the mark of someone really good. Tell us about your wife. Tell us how long you've been married. That's a unique thing to be married in college, and you've been married, what, few months now, 6-7 months. Is that right?
4 or 5 months. Yeah.
4 or 5 months. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So you know exactly. Tell us how you met your wife. Tell us a little bit about that. Give your wife her flowers, man.
Yeah, so I'll kind of start from the beginning and a little bit before that. So at San Diego State, we had what was called AIA, Athletes in Action, very similar to FCA, and started with that. And we were meeting over at the football facilities, and then kind of went over and started meeting at this church. And there was many people at this church that I could shout out and just give praise to because they helped me through my life and my walk. But I was going to a big church and then started going to this small church that was close to us. And one night somebody was like, hey, this College Ave church is starting these young adult night. Like, you should really come. I was like, okay, like I'll try it out. Went by myself first day, met some people, and then just kept coming back because I just love the word, love the pastor. And then one night we go, it's a Sunday night, and one of my buddies like, hey, like that girl over there's really cute. And I was like, what? Sure. And they're like, come on. And I was like, okay, yeah, she's really cute. And then for a while, it kind of just went on, and we were giving each other some glances across the room. We were catching each other's eye. And one day I was just like, okay, like I gotta say hi to this girl or something. And said hi to her. A couple more weeks go by, and finally decided to ask her to come out to breakfast. And we get to breakfast, and it's funny because she was like, I still don't know if I would have liked you, and I don't know. And she's like, supposedly the head pastor and some people talked her into it and said I was a good guy. But yeah, long story short, I met her through the church, and she was an intern there. She was working there. She just went on a mission trip before. And we kind of just hit it off very, very quickly, spent a lot of time with each other. And within 6 months we were engaged, and within 7 months we were married.
Yeah.
So we've only known each other for about a year now, but everything just came together real quickly. And she's amazing. Her family's amazing, and I couldn't have asked for a better girl.
Yeah, man, I can relate with a lot with that because my wife and I, our first date was like a June, and we got engaged in like that August, and then we got married in February. So when you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's so good that, man, you guys can incorporate, life now, even as being a college athlete, and just your faith and just values even at a young age. What has marriage taught you already in just a short amount of time?
Patience, faithfulness. I remember a conversation, and I'm sure her family will watch, and this is something that I've told her dad multiple times, but the first time my wife and I sat down with her mom and dad and talked to her, the one thing that he said is, if you're going to marry my daughter, you can't look at any other woman. And that's an everyday test that comes to me. And it's just like, hey, like everything else. And I've heard other people say it's like social media. Like we didn't have people my age to older people didn't have social media back in the day. They weren't tempted by other things. So it's like everything on social media is like, I'm only going to follow my close friends. I don't need these other temptations around me. And that's where, just other things come into play. And it's like, hey, I'm not going to put myself in a situation where even to look at another woman, doesn't matter who it is. And I think it's just, and my wife's done the same thing. She's like, I don't need to see this. I don't need to see that. And I'm going to stay off this and that. And I think it just speaks volume to our faithfulness to each other, where it's like, hey, I'm going to sacrifice X, Y, and Z because I know it's not going to benefit our relationship. It can only hurt our relationship rather than benefiting. So I think that's a huge part. And I love her for that. And she's just very faithful and respectful and loving.
And you've carried that over into your marriage, man. Like when I said earlier about you being a professional, even how you show your wife honor when she's not even around, the way you talk about her, and you expect that from 35, 40-year-old that's been married an extended amount of time, kids, career, finances, all this stuff, but you're a redshirt senior, and yes, you're mature in your life, but you've learned lessons earlier on that some people go a long time and don't learn. So kudos to you, man. Keep honoring God and honoring your wife by how you live. That's good stuff. Well, I said at the beginning that I wish you were here a long time because in my times of doing FCA, there's probably, I'd say maybe 10, and I've been doing it 26 years, that you're like, look at him and say, hey, yes, he's great on the field. But if things don't work out professionally, which I pray that they do, this could be an FCA staff person, man. This could be somebody in ministry. This is somebody that can you get it. You get to use the platform that God has given you. When did you start to see that?
I'd say about the past year or so. When I first got to San Diego State, I met a guy named Dom Oliver, and he really helped me in my faith as well. And he told me when I first met him, he was like, yeah, like I think after football, if it doesn't work out, I'd like to be a pastor. And I didn't like snark at that comment or whatever, but I was just like, pastor, like, it's kind of weird. Like, don't you want to do other things? And now I look at it and I'm like, dang, I'm jealous of that. Like, that'd be really cool. And I just had a conversation, I think yesterday or 2 days ago with my wife. And I was like, hey, like, maybe after football, like, who knows, join FCA or at least volunteer. Like, there's other things in my life I want to do as well, but I'm like, I'd love to be able to pour back into younger kids and people in the college age ministry and things like that. And I mean, nowadays with how the world's going and everything, I mean, churches are closing down. People aren't getting to their faith with what they need. So I think pouring into the next generation and the next is very, very big in our day and age. So I'd love to get.
Yeah, there was a guy, Scott Long. Scott Long played wide receiver. I mentioned him. There's probably a lot of them I could, but Scott was a guy that I discipled, and he came around, and as we started to grow, he realized he could do this. That it doesn't have to be me to always lead a chapel or a study. And so Scott asked one time, he's like, hey, you okay if I lead the study? It's like, I would love that. And then Scott took over and he did that study. And it was like, it grew so much because the guys saw someone that they are playing with, that it's not an older FCA guy that has to come in, that they can actually do this themselves. And the reason I mention that is because you did that this week or this month, this season, as far as leading in that study. And it wasn't that you had to, it's like you wanted to. And I even said, hey, if you would feel better me not being there. And he's like, no, I would love for you to be there and come. And that made me feel even better. Why did you want to do it? And like, why did you want to do the study? And, what did you learn from the experience itself?
Yeah, I think just this past year, 8 months has really been a crazy time for me in my faith and just growing and just wanting to read more. And I got an opportunity earlier in this year, in the spring, when I was at San Diego State still, we were doing the fruits of the Spirit, and I was able to talk on kindness, I believe it was. And that was the first time I really did something like that. And it was kind of scary, nerve-wracking, but then you're done with it and you're like, dang, like that was really cool to do. And then you presented this opportunity to me as well. And I was like, without a doubt, I was like, yeah. First thing I told my wife, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. Like, I can pray for you on this. Like, I'd love to, like, is there anything I can help you with? I think you texted me that like a Monday morning or whatever. And it was like 9 o'clock. And first thing I did was open my Bible up to Galatians 5:22 or whatever it was, and looked at all the fruits of the spirits. And I was like, okay, how can I present this to, like, what can I find to teach other people? And I just love doing that. And I think my teammates seen that for myself, because that's what I saw in other people when I was at San Diego State. And hopefully they see that in me, and they can be the ones that in a month or 2 months or a year that they can stand up there and they can be they can show to other people, and it can just keep on piling up.
Yeah, well, you definitely showed that. It was a great study. It's probably one of the best studies we had, man, just because it wasn't me. And that's not that I do a terrible job. It's just like they saw, hey, Mark can do this. Maybe I can do this. And so that's what the gospel is about. Like, tell us when you gave your life to Christ, what that kind of looks like. When someone shared the gospel to you, yeah, you probably have heard the stories of Jesus, but what was the transformation process? How did that look like that you made, okay, I'm going to make this my own?
Yeah, I grew up in a Catholic household. My mom raised us Catholic. My dad was Presbyterian, been to both churches, and There's definitely things that you can pick and see from different churches and be like, oh, I like that, or maybe not is for me. Like, I don't believe in that. And, going from Washington to San Diego State, and San Diego State, I think I really just fell into the love of Jesus and just really felt that grace and mercy that he was giving me. And then, I'd say about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I really dedicated my life, and I was thinking about baptism, was baptized as a kid. And this last February, and I know we briefly talked about it earlier today, but I was debating it for like 6 months or a year or so. And I woke up one morning, took a shower, got out, looked in the mirror, and I was like, I think I want to get baptized today. And I was like, I don't know how, but one of my close friends, Danny, who was a youth pastor at the time, I was like, maybe I'll ask him if we can just go to someone's pool, like our pastor's pool or something, and I can get baptized. And showed up at church, and my girlfriend at the time, I was like, hey, I think I want to get baptized today. And we go in and walk into church, sit up top, and I look down, and the baptism pool's right there. And they only do it once a month, once every other month or something. And I was just like, okay, this is a sign from God. And I started tearing up right in front of her, and I might tear up right now, but I walked back downstairs, I walked outside, and this youth pastor, Danny, was doing a bake sale or something. I just walked up to him and broke down, and I was like, I got to get baptized today. And he goes, perfect. He goes, all I have is my street clothes, and I was in street clothes, and he was like, I don't care. He's like, this is my nice shirt, but whatever, let's do it.
Let's get it.
And I'll even show you a funny video after, but he's a big guy too, and he went and dunked me, and on the way up, he was kind of struggling to get me back up, but I was like, it was funny. They were playing worship in the back and splashed on some of the sound system because a big guy going down, but it was the most beautiful moment of my life, and it was amazing to have my friends and my now wife there, and my wife's mother actually came as well. It was
It's so good, man. That's what it's all about. I mean, obviously you're gifted, and I do. I pray you, God's will, you go and you crush the NFL, man. That you play for decades upon decades. However, I just know that you will still be who you are in any NFL locker room, and that, to me, that's joy, man. You play your career out as long as God allows you to do it. And wherever God places you, you just be faithful. And that's where I've watched you, man. And listening to your story, and the more I get to know you, you're faithful here, you're faithful there, and you'll continue to be faithful. As guys wonder, like, hey, what does a quiet time look like? You spend time in your Bible, reading and growing. What does that time look like for Mark Redman to spend time with God?
It's like even earlier this year when I knew I was transferring out, and me and my roommate at the time, Cooper, who really helped me dive into my faith at the time, we would get up and work out at 7 a.m. with one of the trainers that we were working out with, and it was about 20 minutes away, so we'd drive there and then we'd stretch before. So I'd wake up at 6:15 and get a little breakfast in me, and then we'd leave. But Cooper would always wake up at like 5:45 or sit a little bit before me. I was like, dude, don't you want to sleep another 30 minutes? And he was like, well, I read my devotional, and sometimes read a little bit of scripture. And I was like, okay, like, good for you. That's awesome. And that kind of stuck with me, and it's stuck with me for a while now. So I'd say for the past month or so, I'll wake up now at 6:45 or 7, depends when I'm going in. And my wife knows it too, and set the coffee up and get that going and just sit down and read a chapter or two, or now for the past week, it's been my devotional. And I kind of just sit there and pray and just, hey, God, thank you for waking me up today. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for my health. Thank you for a roof over my head. Just the simplest things that a lot of people take for granted. And I'm just so thankful for those things now. I mean, going out into the field, sometimes it's a struggle to practice, but hey, thank you for giving me this opportunity. There's so many people that would love to do this, and thank you for blessing me with this. And I love waking up in the morning now and just having a cup of coffee and just reading the word or praying or whatever it is. And I think that's really, really gotten to me now.
That's good. Man, there's so many times like that when somebody asks a question, who is Jesus to you? Sometimes it can depend on like where I'm at in my walk at the time. He's still all of those things that I've read about. He doesn't change, but just in different seasons of my world, like I can see him as a comforter. I can see him as a father. I can see him as my savior. I can see him as my Lord. I can see him as my protector. All those things. And he's all those things all the time. But maybe I feel him just a little bit more in certain areas, in certain times of my life. Who would you say that Jesus is to you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I say it every day, and I thank him because, I mean, no one's done it like Jesus has. No one's going to go up on that cross and die for you. And, you know, there's a worship song like "I Am Barabbas," and people always talk about like, oh, like you should have freed Jesus and saved, or like Barabbas should have died. But it's like, I'm Barabbas, you're Barabbas. We're all sinners, and it's like he didn't deserve. I deserve that death. So he legitimately is my savior, and he always will be. He'll always be the Lord of my life. And I think sometimes I lean on him too much, and I kind of just say, hey, like, if you're really here, like, you should help me through this. And I know that's not right. And but he's someone that's always there for me. Even if it's a argument with my wife, or I'm mad at my dad right now, or my brother's annoying me, like, he's always there for me. And it's someone I can turn to and have my quiet time and just go and talk to. And you know, a lot of people think prayer is like an instant response, and maybe I'll pray for something today and I think I'm going to get it tomorrow, but really it's going to come in 3 weeks. And I think just knowing that he's always there, even when you don't get that instant response, is something that I really hold on to and cling to. He's just, I mean, he's my friend.
Yeah.
He's always there for me. He's the person that's never going to give up on you.
That's so good, man. That's awesome. So many people don't get an opportunity like that. They can come to the football stadium, and some people have a special pass where maybe you can get in the football complex. Very few people, and I know our guys not gonna let a lot of people in. Very seldom anyone into the locker room. So there's only a select few people in there. What is a game time? A lot of people wonder what do athletes do during that time. What's your go-to? Like different people do different things, but what do you do? What's your game time? You get off that bus, you come in, and you make it in the complex. What do you do?
Yeah. You know, everyone's different and everyone's has their own thing. Some people want to listen to this music or that, or go warm up. And for me recently, especially this year, I think kind of varies year to year, but this year I'll on the bus ride in, I'll listen to some worship, and that's pretty much all it is. I mean, I'm not the type to rah, get hyped up, do all the smelling salts and get crazy. And everyone has their way. Some people are low key like that. Some people like the rah, and I'm very low key, you know, get in the hot tub and warm up a little bit, go catch a couple balls, but just keep it really simple. And I think people respect that around you, and they know, hey, this is how you warm up, or this is how you warm up. And I just put on some worship music. It'll still get me going, but it's just something to know that, hey, like whether we win or lose today, you've still won in life. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you beat this team or lose to this team, because if you have Jesus in your life, you've already won today. You've won tomorrow.
That's so good, man.
I found out.
That's rich right there. That's you know, I was always that guy. Of course, I'm 5'11". I played NAIA football. Okay, nowhere near the same. Football's football, but it's different. So I always felt like I had to go into a game like I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder. I was the loud one. I was the guy that wanted to rally folks around. And I can even catch myself, even with a chapel, get really excited and get passionate about that. But I've always marveled the guys that they don't need that. They're like, and that's the way I see you. I see you as a guy that's it's not the lighter fluid poured on a flame that's going to make a loud thing and then go down. No, you're the red embers. Like you burn, man. and I'm telling you, because your faith is contagious. I've been doing this a long time, and I know that you're a guy. He means a lot to you, man. Your relationship with Christ means a whole lot, and how you are asking questions about getting plugged in to study with your wife, and how you all want to grow together. And kudos to you. Keep living your life for Christ. Keep letting your light shine brightly for Him. Who in the Bible you read is like, man, that's probably my favorite person, or that's my favorite book of the Bible, or that's my favorite story. Is there one?
I think it's easy because I've been going through the New Testament right now, but Paul for sure. I mean, It's funny because someone sent like a little character meme to me like a year ago and was like, if you could meet 3 people in the Bible, who would it be? And everyone was like, Paul. And I hadn't even gotten into the New Testament really. I'd read the Gospels and I was like, who's this Paul guy? And then I started reading Acts and Romans and First Corinthians. And I'm like, oh, I mean, yeah, Paul is. I mean, he's just like all of us. I mean, he was. I mean, I'm not saying we're all doing what Paul was doing, but we were doing wrong. And I think he's just someone that we can relate to, and the way that he just turned his heart around and his heart posture just changed. I think that's something that I've started to do, and a lot of people I know have, and it's just you can relate to him because he's been there and he's been through it worse, and God has so much mercy and grace to give, and yeah, it's just awesome to see that and see how it's already been worked and how it's continued to work.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on our show, our podcast, and really just making Jesus known, man. Just keep thriving at what you're doing. You got a favorite verse before we close? You got one, or probably a lot of them?
There is a lot of them. The first one I ever learned was Psalm 55:16. It's, as for me, I call to God, and the Lord saves me. The most recent one I'm remembering is 2 Corinthians 5:7, for we walk by faith, not by sight. That's one it's probably going to be my new favorite for the next couple months. I really like that one, but I don't know. You could read any chapter and you could find a favorite. So that speaks volume.
Well, thanks for letting me learn from you, man. Just keep letting your light shine and keep making them known. So thanks for coming on, Mark. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.